Bahamas.com/summer festivals for more details.
Peace 107.5 FM, the air of success.
We are in the 5 o'clock hour, and if it's 5 o'clock, it's hard copy. Hard Copy is a presentation of the McKinney Media Group, copyrights 2015, all rights reserved. The views, statements, and opinions of guests expressed on this show does not necessarily reflect the views of the host, sponsors, or operators of this radio station. No part of this program may be copied or reproduced in full or in part without the expressed written consent of the producers. Hard Copy. This is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network. Hard Copy seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. This is the country that we have to build, the country that God gave us. We must take good care of it. We've got jobs and industry to create, a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians. We the people must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on the show, The Future of Our Bahamas. It's a series that we're doing. New faces, new perspectives, new hope with some new people today on Hard Copy. You stick around, it's going to be interesting, I promise you that. This is Hard Copy.
Entrepreneurs, are you missing out on sales because you don't accept credit card payments? Then BLB has the solution for you. Introducing BLB Mobile Express, the most affordable mobile card processing package for self-employed persons. With BLB Mobile Express, you can accept credit card payments almost anywhere on your smartphone or tablet, so you never have to miss a sale. Get paid on the spot with BLB Mobile Express. Visit any BLB branch or call us at 397-3000. BLB, your bank of solutions.
Father's Day is not just about celebrating dads. It's about celebrating all that our dads are. Our protectors, our husbands, and our oldest friend. This Father's Day, don't forget to tell him, I'm so glad you're mine, with a gift from Bonneville Bones.
Bonneville Bones, a statement in fashion, a night on the town. Find us Bay Street, Mall and Marathon at Bonneville Bones.
3 words catapulted him to millionaire status. He calls it a wealth whisper. The Commonwealth Embassy presents the Billionaire Believer Summit 2015. 1 day, 2 nights of intensive success training. Dynamic speakers include Dr. Shawalta Johnson, Greg S. Reed, and Dr. Mike Murdoch of the Wisdom Center. Mark your calendars and make your way to the British Colonial Hilton, June 22nd to 23rd. Register now at CommonwealthEmbassy.org or call 376-8054. It's out of this world. Seats are limited.
Well, what the world you got in these suitcases you told in the superwash?
Rachel come home with this cat. It's a pretty cat now. But he ain't getting toilet things down park yet.
So he going on the rug?
On the rug? I wish it was only the rug. Homeboy baptized our couch with some of that territory marking spray what they just use.
Well, why don't you get one janitorial service to come in and clean rather than carrying all these cushions to the wash house?
I do that. Now it smell like pine-scented parking lot after Junkanoo. So these going to super wash.
That cat pee no match with them big boys now, I can tell you that.
You got that right. And when I get them dry, they're going straight to the composter for plastic covering.
I don't blame you, girl. But what you gonna do with the cat?
He going obedient training where he gonna learn how to use the toilet.
You mean the litter box?
No. I mean the toilet. He gonna learn how to doggone use that toilet, or he could be in timeout all day.
Hey, Superwash. They washes your presses, it cleans you, and entertains you 24/7.
Oh, I love my island. Oh, my island made. Oh, I love my island. My island made. Oh, I love my island.
Island Made, locally produced products here in the Bahamas and available for purchase. For more information about our products, give us a call at 362-1102 or 362-1113. Island Made brands located in the Bacardi plants, encouraging you to buy Bahamian and support local entrepreneurship.
My island made. We got in the club, that's my island made.
The best insurance in town is Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They are simply the best because they provide easy, affordable insurance rates for home, car, business, or whatever is valuable or important to you. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, is the fastest, most progressive insurance company in the Bahamas because they really take care of you by making insurance totally affordable. Call them now at 356-0285 or 6 or email them at info@advantagebahamas.com.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive Printers. Laser checks. We do them right.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. Oh, the plane them spanking clean. The pilots their voice red. They fly you out on time. They flight attendants red. Service is their passion. With you they take good care. Safety is their culture. Yes, they'll get you there. When I fly.
Fly with us to Fort Lauderdale or the beautiful Bahama Islands. Book today at 702-2600 or visit our website at skybahamas.net and experience Sky.
What's hotter than summertime in the Bahamas? A Junkanoo and Goombay summer in the Bahamas. Get ready for one sizzling summer with two exciting street festivals. First up is Junkanoo Summer Festival every Saturday in July. Come see your favorite Junkanoo groups face off on Bay Street, and while you're there, enjoy mouth-watering Bahamian cuisine and entertainment. The heat continues into August with the return of the Goombay Summer Festival. Yes, you heard right. Goombay is back. Join us every Friday in August at Prince George Wharf and Pompey Square for live Bahamian music, delicious local cuisine, authentically Bahamian arts and crafts, and lots of games and entertainment. Junkanoo Summer Festival and Goombay Summer Festival, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism. See you every Saturday in July and every Friday in August. Visit bahamas.com/summerfestivals for more details.
The choices we make can make us, like who we turn to for investment and retirement advice. Choosing CFAL means having a trusted advisor on your side, helping you build wealth and meet your financial goals. We manage pension assets for businesses and offer individual plans to help you design a secure retirement. We can provide brokerage services and comprehensive research support for clients needing a little more investment guidance. CFAL can help you build a portfolio you can be proud of. Visit us at cfal.com. CFAL sees your future.
5 o'clock roadblock, hot and carry gently. People around the radio, they want to listen to Steve McKinney on hard coffee, hard coffee, hard coffee. Hard coffee with Steve McKinney, a man of conviction, Bahamian to the bone, a voice of the people. So call him on your phone. Hard coffee, hard coffee, hard coffee. Hard coffee with Steve McKinney. Da 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 da, da 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 da. Da 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 da. Hard coffee with Steve McKinney.
It is Thursday, the 18th day of the month of June, 2015. As you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have a mixture of sun and cloud 88 degrees. It feels like 97. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We're brought to you today by Bank of the Bahamas, Bank of Solutions, BTC Every Day, Super Value, the All-Behaving Supermarkets, McKinney Media Group, Island Made Products, Ministry of Tourism, AML Foods, Bonneville Bones, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, Superwash, 11 locations open 24/7. Ron's Electric Motors, they can fix anything. Sky Bahamas, professionals in every way, every day. Kalina Financial Advisors Limited, CFA. The Billionaire Summit. Executive Printers, Henry F. Store, the light people on Mackin Street. And Le Bleu Ultra Pure Drinking Water. Today on the show, we talk about some very important matters. As I told you in the opening, we're looking at the future of the Bahamas, new faces, new perspectives, new hope. And so today, later on, I'm going to open the telephone lines so that you can be a part of our conversation. Right now, though, I want to introduce to you a few Bahamians, 3 of them, unknown even to each other, but with a common resolve to fix the Bahamas in their various ways in search and hope of a result that will rebound this nation and promote a new paradigm in our country. They are all new faces with new ideas of philosophy and a strong determination to agitate for remedies that will shape the new Bahamas. And I urge you to hear from them today and also join the conversation with your emails, texts, and phone calls. Today, I want to introduce to you Mr. Prince Smith, Patrick Petty, and Alyssa Store. And I wish to engage them in a discussion about things that matter to we, the everyday Bahamian people. Our guests today also spans 3 different generations, you may want to know, and 3 different generations of thought processes. So this should make for an interesting conversation today on Hard Copy. Lady Alyssa, and of course, Prince, good afternoon. How y'all doing? You know, one of the things. Good afternoon. One of the things I want to say here is that Prince, you may not know him. Now, he's been around for some time and is a friend of mine from way back in the day. But I want to say that Prince hails out of Grand Bahama, really. He was born in Nassau. He grew up in Freeport, Grand Bahama. He's the oldest of 4 boys, and he's the son of a former policeman, 71 Smith, known as Perry Mason. He's over in Grand Bahama today, listening in along with Prince Smith's mom. And of course, you may want to know who Alyssa is. Alyssa Store. She is the wonderful, beautiful daughter of a lady that we all know, Pandora Butler. We always call her Patty. And of course, she's a young Bahamian lady as well, who in fact has a perspective on some things. And let me say right off the top that I was quite impressed with a letter that she wrote some time back to a minister in the government, looking out for the people, the derelict people. And so that gave me a good indication that she's the kind of individual who has the compassion and the interest of others, which is sorely lacking in the country today, if you look at it from the perspective of the people who are in position of power, in position to do some things, but we see an abundance and growing numbers of the derelict people, we call them, homeless, moving about aimlessly sometimes in our country, and that's a very, very important thing. So while I welcome you, we await for Mr. Patrick Petty, who's also a dynamic young Bahamian, who's been on the cutting edge of a lot of things, technologically speaking, as well as he has a lot of concepts about immigration practices, policies, and things that we lack. So today, the conversation really is to talk with some new faces, to bring about some new ideas of change as we're looking at pivoting and beginning the new Bahamas in a way in accordance with prophecies that have already been made in this country about a paradigm shift occurring. We're trying to be right on the cutting edge of it to showcase at least anyone who wants to be a part of believing that they are part of that shift for a new Bahamas. And this is mighty interesting as far as I'm concerned. I'm always getting excited when I talk with younger people anyway about these kinds of things to figure out what's the perspective, what they are doing. Let me ask you this first question right off the bat. You see the Bahamas where we live right now. We are all a part of it. Whether it's glory or nightmare, we are part of what you see. From your perspective, though, is this the Bahamas that we have envisioned? Is this the Bahamas that we would like? Is this the Bahamas that we would want to embrace? Or do we have to make some changes? Prince, let me start with you.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. Good afternoon to the world as we live stream. You know, Steve, as we take a look at ourselves, right? We are at a critical crossroad.
Tell me about it.
Okay, absolute critical crossroad. We have, and there's somewhat of a paradox, because here we have one of the best pieces of real estate in the world, the Bahamas. Location, I mean, you know, it's all about location.
Absolutely.
And we have location. Okay? We have proximity to our large neighbor to the north, the United States. We hug the corridors of South America. And there's, of course, there's South America proper to the south. Tremendous shipping lanes. The possibilities are enormous. Trade and commerce pass us by. Opportunities that should be granted to the natives to engage in that commerce and trade that just passes by north and south somehow seem to elude us. And one would have to ask themselves, why? Why is it that you have such an able people with education, exposure, knowledge about scientific things, and of course economics and commerce, okay? And yet we do not seem to be a part of the economic equation, okay? In other words, we do not own our economy.
No, we don't. And so you obviously don't like where we are. Nobody likes where we are with not owning the economy, not able to see what we are doing for the future generations of this country, because we are basically just workers in many regards, and that can be a good position. Now, I like your opening, and we're going to get with it, but let me involve Alyssa here, because really the thing about it is Alyssa is somebody who is within the category of the 19 to 35 group of people who are considered the youth of the nation. And if you look at the Department of Statistics recent report, you're talking about 31% in her age bracket who are not employed. They are unemployed. They are walking out there. There's nothing much for them to do. And I wonder, from her neck of the woods, I see what you're saying, and you're right. You at that age, Prince, where, you know, we should have something now. Where's the prosperity? Where's the economy going for us? How are we going to own it? She is now young and tender, right around 20, thereabouts. And her whole thing is that, but what's in it for me? I've already finished school. I've done some studies. I'm ready to do things, but I don't have any opportunity. Now, from your perspective, how do you see this Bahamas today, and what do you make of it for your future?
Good afternoon, Mr. McKinney. Good afternoon, Bahamas.
Yes, welcome aboard.
Well, it's kind of depressing, to be honest. I'm a medical student going into my second year, and I have about 3 more years to be done. And that means in 3 years, I join the workforce. And it's a bit disheartening to see where we are right now when it comes to crime. And
yeah, crime is a serious thing. It is.
It's ridiculous right now. So, I mean, when it comes to what maybe my grandparents, great-grandparents would have envisioned for the Bahamas, this isn't it.
Yeah, this isn't it.
This definitely.
And they would have spoken with you and tell you what they thought, because they're educating you, obviously.
Right.
Your mom works very hard. Your whole family would have been working very hard to make sure that you go through medical school and that kind of stuff. And you're seemingly telling me that you don't see anything to look forward to.
I don't want to sound that gloomy, but I mean, sometimes the thoughts run across my head. Do I want to come back home? Will there be a job for me? Will I be able to make money? Will I be able to find somewhere to live? Will I be able to buy property? Like all of these things, I'm going to be in the workforce in 3 years, and it sounds like it sounds far away, but 3 years is going to be gone in no time. And I don't know where the Bahamas is going to be.
And the reality is you are concerned.
I am.
So there are many youngsters just like you. There are some who are not in school. There are some who have finished and they're now in the workforce looking for jobs. For instance, we're going to have somewhere close to 6,000 to 7,000, or maybe a little bit more, students coming out of school this month, June. The graduation ceremonies have already begun.
That's right.
And a lot of them are not going to have the opportunity like you to go off and do some things or to go into medical school. Many of them will want to go straight into the workforce. What do you see for them? How are they feeling like how you are feeling about the conditions and the opportunities that seem to be lacking and not available for the young Bahamian coming up and wanting to help to build this country?
Well, I sincerely hope they feel the same way, because when I was coming out of high school, I was very concerned with what I'd be able to do, where I'd be able to go to do it. So I'm thinking the mindset of the high school students now should be, what are their next steps? And I'm hoping their next steps would be further education. But like you say, there are some that are going to join the workforce. And I mean, it is possible to be very successful straight out of high school. It's very, very possible. But in this world we live in right now, your best bet is education.
Yeah.
So I could hope that once they join the workforce after high school, that they become successful.
We look at the conditions of crime and all that, and you can join in this, Prince. We look at the conditions of crime and the amount of things that we do have in the country that's not really going well. There's a lot of room for improvement. We can do far better than we're doing. But is there anything encouraging for either of you as far as what could happen in the immediate short term, or the short term, medium to long term plans that will involve people becoming enthusiastic and looking forward to a better country? In other words, we see where we are now. Can we see beyond this in 3 to 5 years that things can take a drastic turn for the better? Do you see that, Alyssa?
Well, I will say that I have not totally lost hope. I haven't,
That's
because
good.
this is still my Bahamas. I know some persons that share the same values and views as me. So I know that as long as, when it comes to my generation, I feel like there are some persons that are going to try and make a difference. Now, will we be given the chance to?
That's another thing.
That's another question. But I think that there are some movers and shakers in my generation who will be able to make the difference given the chance.
Well, I like that. That sounds a bit like the prophecy that Miles said, that what's going to happen in short term between last July and this July. We're going to see a number of people turn the corner. People are going to come on the scene like we've never heard, never seen from before, and they're going to cost and demand some changes. And it sounds like you've got your head in the right place. What I want to do, though, I want to ask Prince that same question, because for you in a different generation now, of course, she's like early 19, 20, thereabouts, you are over that particular hump. And for you, you've been working, you've gone to school, you've come up in this country, a brilliant young man, because I know that for many days of us sitting down and matching wits about all kinds of things, from Marcus Garveyism and to any number of other things that we talk about.
Right.
But what do you see? I mean, right now, this country is polarized, politically polarized in many regards. And it seems like if you don't wear a badge of one particular grouping on your shoulder, there's no pass for you. You've got to have the right ticket, I suppose, for whoever's in there for you to get something in your life. What does that mean to you? Should that be the case? And are we sick and tired yet in this generation of that?
Well, I can tell you that my generation is sick and tired of that philosophy, of which what appears to be friends, family, and lovers, to put it succinctly. As I indicated in my opening remarks, we have a tremendous opportunity to get it right. But for some reason, we have tried any number of things, but we have failed to really produce a vibrant economy, social order, and also for the inhabitants, the owners, the inheritors, to actually become the masters of their destiny. And quite frankly, that frustrates me. Okay? Because when it's all said and done, we would have went to the same universities as those who come here and control our destiny, so to speak. And so therefore, I don't understand why it is, for example, something as simple as Bahamians having access to US dollar accounts, okay? To really allow Bahamians to compete competitively in the marketplace in terms of getting into our own industry, such as tourism.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
And so, this is not the country that my parents signed up for, okay?
Yeah.
This is not what we signed up for. And somehow we have gone astray. And while I don't want to be political, I would say this. That is the reason why I had to look elsewhere to align myself, because I saw that the two parties in this country that we have given our allegiance to time and time again over the last 40 plus years have actually failed us. Okay? We are basically bordering on becoming a failed state.
And people take that lightly.
They
People
take it
don't
lightly.
seem to understand
But this is
that.
serious
But when we
business.
look at what the IMF's saying, what the
Yeah.
IDB is saying, what Standard &
Poor's
Poor's
is
and all these
saying,
people are saying,
right.
Moody's,
Moody's.
they control what we're doing in many regards. And when we look at the fact that we want to join WTO and all that, and we're the last one now who are out in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, we're the only
But
person one that haven't signed.
we are now wanting to join that, and we're doing it to our disadvantage, even though some people believe that's to our advantage, because the government wants to go that way because they've been cajoled into doing that, and they think that's the right thing. Truth be told, that a lot of things that we are now doing here seem to be kind of foolish, because we have the BAMSI project, which should have been done long time and which could be a good project. But how much of that will be very effective in the future, considering that one of the biggest things with WTO would be that, we're not really checking for any agriculture. We don't want you to develop your agricultural sector. We want you to import. We want you to remove the tariffs of trade. We want you to remove all barriers to trade and just let the floodgates come in and you buy our stuff, and you just become another area where you're consumers and you buy what we sell. Yeah. And that's the end of it. So development of a country almost goes out of the window. And young people have got to be concerned about that. But do you get that people are concerned, Prince Smith? Because really, I see people just moving about in the streets, having a good time, shaking up, dancing up, that kind of stuff. They're not seemingly to be focused on the generation that we came from. Like, we have to be something. We've got to make something of ourselves. We can't let down our parents' name.
Right.
We've got to have that personal pride to go and do some things. I don't really sense that happening now. And I'm concerned about that, because it seems like we are now trading in this country on everything that seems to be illicit, something that seems to be shaky, not really on a moral high ground, the gambling, the carnival thing, that kind of stuff. While it may bring some attraction and while it may be some things to stimulate economies, we've also got to keep our identity, and we seem to be losing that because we're running after change or a couple of dollars any which way we can. How do you speak to that in the context that we are trying to change the direction of the Bahamas?
Yeah, I don't like the direction we're going in, quite frankly. The direction really is it appears to be of decadence, and it certainly is. There's no social redeeming qualities in where we're headed. Okay, if we truly want to build a Bahamas, okay, one of the first things we'd want to look at is, how do you get Bahamians to own their economy? In every country, that seems to be the underlying basic philosophy. The natives must control the economy. Seeing that they're the ones going to be taxed to support the state, well, they must have a vested interest in the economics of the country. And in this country, for the most part, you're marginalized. And what makes it even more insulting is the fact that we cannot trade in US dollars. Why? It just baffles me.
Yeah, this removal of the idea is to remove exchange control and make sure that we can open things so that we can go and get the kind of capital we need to develop things. We don't have a chance to even get capital to develop major ideas that we have. We have to try to do it ourselves, go to a local bank. All the qualifications you need to go to a local bank to make some things happen. That's not happening. So ideas are dying like watermelon is spawning on the vine, that kind of thing. And there's a serious deficit in a country when the leadership seems to be oblivious to these cries that people are making every day. I know Patrick can speak to this very, very well, because the bottom line, Patrick, is the fact that, and this is Patrick Petty I'm talking with, who is also a part of our grouping today, Shaping a New Bahamas. How do Prince said something, and Alyssa also said something here today. This is quite interesting, that even in our own country, where there's all this talk, which is just political diatribe, really, we believe in Bahamians, that kind of stuff, but never mind that. every government is supposed to believe in its people. They don't have to say that. They're all supposed to believe in the people for a development of the people. How do we get to that next level if, in fact, there's a disconnect, Patrick, of people who are in place to provide the leadership, to create the kind of legislation that will make some things happen in our economy for our young people? And it seems like they're totally in a different place, in a different direction. Prince says, friends, family, and lovers, the hell with the rest, that kind of a thing. How do you respond to that?
Good evening. First of all, the biggest problem I see here is we're trying to solve problems using the same old ideas over and over again that created the problems in the first place. And that's simply not going to work. In order for the Bahamas to have, as you need change. And I'm not pointing at any particular political party. The point is this: the Bahamas and Bahamians are regressing. We're not progressing. 40 years of what we've had has taken us backwards, not forwards. And anyone that denies that or that can't see that don't want to see it. There are a few people that are doing well, and those people will tell you everything is great. The government is great. The economy is great. There are no problems. But those are the few people who are well connected, think that everything they want, they can make things happen for themselves. And quite frankly, they don't care about me or you or anybody else. So in order for this country to move forward, we need change. Simple.
And that's change on the political end. That's change of minds. That's change of attitudes. That's change even in the church. There's so many people who are just now just taking a back seat. Apathy has begun to set in here in the country. There are people who just, I don't know, that kind of an attitude. There are people who are hopeful and want to see things happen, but there's great disappointment. Alyssa talked about it a short time ago, that, she hopes that in 3 years' time, she would be so impressed that she'd be home, she'd be working, but she has real concerns because she's investing now. At age 20, thereabouts, she's investing in the Bahamas by going and learning what she's learning in med school, that kind of thing. But the possibilities of her really applying what she gets is very slim. And it seems like nobody cares about that. That's why this is a beautiful gathering today, 3 different generations right here in this room, looking at the same Bahamas that we all seem to have a difficulty with. The recurrent chorus or the common denominator here is that we agree that this place is not what it ought to be, not after 40 years, not after going to school and getting your degree and coming back home and have to look and toe the line because you know nobody, not after you having the possibility of going off and doing more studies and coming back really armed to build this country. You're not so sure if you're going to fit in. What kind of country is this? That gives us a place here to pause for a minute and think about that. What are we doing? Who are we building the Bahamas for? What's in it for us? Why can't we get some things done that are just basic, common, everyday decency, decent practices of other countries? Why can't these things happen? Let's evaluate now. Is it selfishness? Is it greed by those who control the economy, the purse strings, by those who control the legislature because they're caught up in special interest groups in their own inner circle? What is choking us? Alyssa, what do you think is choking us right now? What's the reason why we can't feel all enthusiastic and almost certain that, man, we're going to go do this, and when we come back, this is what I'm going to do? That's how I was. I know it was going to happen, but I'm of a different generation. Things have changed. The dynamics have shifted. What is causing us not to be able to feel that enthusiasm? What is choking us? You got to think with that, hey.
I do.
Because it is almost as if everything looks normal on the scene. It is almost as if we got a parliament, we got a good church grouping, we've got working people, we seem to have a good level of of income. We seem to have a high quality of life as far as our quality of living is concerned. So how it is that our people feel empty and they need more and they want more because they feel boxed in, marginalized. What do you think is the reason for that, Prince?
The reality is persons have returned to this country having learned some things. And they see that the country does not function according to how the international protocols that what you learn about.
Yeah.
Okay. That is the disconnect. Okay. Let me give you an example. Give you a classic example. We're operating a democracy. In a democracy, there are market forces. Okay. Okay. And so monopolies should not exist. Okay. If you're gonna operate a democracy based on market forces, then
the market forces
have to prevail. How do you get market forces to behave and govern the market if you have monopolies which legislate and demand how the market will perform? Because we have some colonial handicaps that are crippling us. Okay, we have some educated men and women who've returned with their credentials, and they appear to have turned a blind eye to the obvious. Okay,
I wonder why.
Let me give you a on the ground example of what I'm talking about. Let's look at, for example, and I'm going to call a name, and I mean this in love. E.J. Bowe used to be my my headmaster at Hawksville High School in Freeport. Very intelligent man, very likable person. I respect him. Okay, but he has a portfolio to go around and check breadbasket items in the various stores to see if there's any price gouging and all this other stuff, right? Now, to someone who's done economics 101, they would automatically laugh at that scenario, okay? Because if you have monopolies, you are automatically going to have a higher pricing structure, okay, by virtue of the monopoly. And if the monopoly also can sell wholesale and retail, you've added a double damage to the equation. This is basic math, you know, and we have a very sophisticated financial services sector here in the Bahamas. And so it blows my mind that none of them have ever addressed the concept of abolishing that so that market forces can actually take place and creating antitrust laws.
We need that for sure.
Now, how is it that you could have almost 50% of your economy based on banking and financial services, which means they all had to take these basic introduction to micro and macroeconomics, and yet they could return home and live under this current system without challenging it and see how they could massage some of the rules and regulations so that the economy could behave consistent with a free market economy.
Well, you see, it goes back to interest. This is why I asked you earlier. I put the question: is it because of greed, selfishness?
Well,
see, people come home and they want to do some things, but they get caught up into the whole bit about, well, you know, I'm just reaching home. I've taken a wife. You know, I've got some kids. I've got to make sure that the house payments are paid. They're not going on the limb for anything. They're not going to upset the apple cart by shaking it or rocking it. They're going to just sit still and don't rock the boat, because until they can get to a comfort level of, you know, I've got it done. This is what I'm doing now. I do have this moving. Now maybe I can venture out eventually. We need people in the country right now. There's going to be a paradigm shift. We need bold people. What is being called for right now in this country, if we just for a minute just take a look at it, we need bold, new, innovative leadership. We need bold, new thinkers. We need people who are not apologetic, not afraid, not ashamed to move out front and do some things. when Pinling and those came back home in the early 50s and whatnot, as London trained lawyers and that lot, Orville Turnquest, and what they met, they didn't like. They left it when they went, and when they came back, it was pretty much the same thing. They had to do some things. They had to step out and try to change the direction of things. I don't sense, Patrick, I don't sense, Elissa, or Prince, that people are returning with an idea to make bold steps, to bring about this shift, this change that we need. This, you talk about the change, you're absolutely right, I agree with you. But I don't see that we have the people who are moving forward to boldly go where others have gone before and make a difference. I mean, mom them, grandma them, they decided that Patrick Petty was not going to be working anywhere doing anything foolish. They decided that he going to get to work in Royal Bank too, despite his disposition, the color of his skin, whatever it was. He good enough to do that. We're going to educate Patrick. That's what the older people said. We're going to educate Prince. We're going to send them. We're going to make sure when they come, education, as Elissa said earlier, is the key. It's still the key. We're going to make sure that they're qualified, but something else has happened. A lot of our people have come back home and just resigned to whatever they were doing, keeping everything nice and easy, don't rock the boat. And so education is key. We're educated, but we're no further than we were yesterday. Something's got to be wrong with that. Now, you're with me when I say I believe that we need bold new leadership. And it doesn't only have to come in the area of politics. It can come in the church. It can come in civil society. It could come in business. It could come in banking. It could come in financial services. We need to be doing some things that's going to turn the country around. Now, if you disagree with that, tell me what else we need to be doing, because I'm desperately looking to see how we're going to turn this country around. I see you want to tell me now, Elissa. Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay. I think the thing that is missing, the only thing that I could think of that is missing right now is God. Morals. We need, apart from bold leaders, we need moral leaders. We need leaders who have a firm foundation. Because if our leadership doesn't have any, then where are we going to be? Where's that going to leave us? In talking to some people, well, talking to my friends today, you know, with all the things going on in the US right now, I have a Bible app on my phone that sent me my verse of the day. And my verse of the day, it was like so relevant. It said, it's 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now, I don't know if I could find any answer that is better than that.
That's a perfect answer. We hear it all the time with great repetition on these shows. Trouble is, it's empty when it comes to people not believing in that, not feeding it, and because we have gone away from the right moral fiber of this country. I mean, we've strayed away. For goodness sake, people. I mean, just look at this. We just recently, earlier last year, had a group of people agitating to try to change the actual Constitution, the actual makeup of the Constitution, which you call the preamble of the Constitution, that talks about, we believe in the supremacy of God. I mean, we were trying to change that. We had to fight. I had to grab a bunch of clergy people, come here and fight to say, don't try that, and threaten some people. If you try that, you're gonna reap some bad reward. But we had people who would. What am I saying? Patrick is right. We've got to do some things to get some changes. You are absolutely right. But where do we find these people in an atmosphere where the whole thing is about fun and frolic, and getting down and move it to the left and move it to the right, and down and all, and you know, and the vulgarity, and we seem to be trading that as a new direction for this country. I want you to think about that, because I want you to just jump in and join the conversation on this. Let me show you something. Do you realize that in this country right now, traditional businesses, the moms and pop shops, you know, little clothing store, you know, remember we used to have a little Jack in Jill. We still got it in the Carmichael Road there. But we also had things like Del Jane, and we had places that regular Bahamians who saved some money through NASU, they were able to get into business, and they started doing good business. You still see some of them around on Welf Road now, but very, very small in numbers. They're a dying group.
Traditional businesses in this country have now been overtaken by what? This new concept of play a number. The number shops are all over. They litter the landscape of the Bahamas. They're all the way in Acklands, where 2 people are. You've got 5 number shops. That's been passed by the government of the Bahamas, you know. They didn't just go and do that. They are legalized. I'm saying the shift, the focus where we are is a decadence focus. Yes. Well, that's not going to help build the country. When you have traditional businesses going out of business, and all we have is a littered landscape of gambling houses, and I suppose soon to be brothels and everything else, because they go hand in hand. I try to figure out, what does this mean for a country that says they know God, they want to pivot, they want to go in the right direction, and they want to have this paradigm shift that people are talking about? How is that possible today when minds have so been infected, Patrick and Prince and Alyssa, that we think about the next dollar, Guinness in your back pocket, chicken in the bag on your hand, you're thinking of doing something outrageously nasty later tonight, and you got your bag in your pocket and your gun in your waist and all that. That's where we're going.
And your ankle bracelet on your foot.
Don't forget that, because that's right, ankle bracelet on your foot. Now, how do we put our heads around that if we're going to cost for a paradigm shift? What are the things? What are the components? What are the ingredients that we need to begin the process?
Well, what you need is committed, dedicated people who have of like minds, who can come together, organize, and create a institution or a party that can actually challenge the status quo.
Exactly right.
And that, quite frankly, is where we are in this country.
So
that's where
we need to have a political shift.
It has to be political
to balance the scales, to bring about the right kind of mix, to cause for some other things to happen.
You know, Steve, for example, I think it's no guesswork that I'm a member of the Democratic National Alliance.
Yes, you did. You did.
As
run
a matter
for
of
them.
fact, I ran in the St. Anne's constituency in the last general election. And I garnered 10.4% of the vote. And I've established a tremendous rapport in that constituency, but I don't want to talk about that right now. What I want to say is that the DNA grew out of a circumstance. It didn't just magically appear. Okay. It was birthed out of circumstances. When we inventory the country and we say, look, what's going on in the housing market? What's going on in the schools? What's going on in the economy? Okay, who owns the economy? How, why is it that there's still over 3,000 outdoor toilets over the hill? Okay, I mean, when you look, why are these pumps there? Okay, the dog's licking the pumps, and then the 5-year-old kids going with the jugs to fill it. No disinfectant. Okay, and so you can see why the hospitals, it's a revolving door. So you have all of these social ills. We are slowly dying. If the Bahamas was a patient, we'd be on life support.
Yeah. Well, we are.
We on life support.
I say it all the time, Patrick, that we are on life support because
we're on life support. Okay, and so the only way to counter this is you have to organize and against it and form a political thrust against this kind of approach.
Is that the right approach, Patrick? I mean, obviously people are looking right now, to be honest with you, a lot of people are looking for something to happen on the political scene. We see a lot of moving and shaking and rambling and all kinds of shifting. We see Rawlings last night resigning in the House of Assembly after he made his presentation. We saw Greg Moss do the same thing. We see that there's implosion in some political parties. We know there's turmoil in some other political parties. And of course, there's a stall in some political parties. I call no name, but you know what I'm talking about. The fact is, people are looking for something else, and they're looking for fresh faces and new ideas and a new ideology and a new thrust to get us out of this malaise that we're in, from the crime, from the immigration problem, from the poor economy, the three greatest things that threaten us as a patient. We are really in the intensive care unit of critical care. If there's such a thing. And that means that we're in dire straits, but we don't seem to recognize that. We seem to still be thinking that somebody can fix us up tonight with one big rally and we can get drunk. And I'm talking the collectively we. I know everybody don't do that, but when you look at the masses, sometimes you say to yourself, boy, the masses could hold back a whole nation because they have not opened their eyes to see that we are being used year in. In the decades we're talking about, this same foolishness has been happening. How do we switch that, Patrick? Because I see that you want to tell me something.
You know, I believe that it's nothing that it's something that has to be done on the ground and has to happen naturally. And I think that we're seeing it happening naturally. People's comfort levels isn't there anymore. You know, when you have lost your car and you've lost your home and you've lost your job and you're despondent and you can't find food and daddy ain't hungry, mommy ain't hungry, and there's no solution, your comfort level is gone. And now the first thing people do is look at the politician.
True.
And they say, now how I get like this? So they begin blaming the politician. And what happens is, in any society, what causes change is anger.
You got to be angry now.
Angry and frustrated and fed up, then things change because people have already. So who you have is anger.
Yeah.
And we're getting to a point, and we saw it last night in the House of Assembly.
Yeah.
Mr. Rollins is pissed off.
Yeah, he is.
And Mr.
He's had enough.
Sorry, he's had enough.
He's had enough.
And well, and there's nothing wrong with what he did. You know, he spoke his mind, he spoke his conscience, and I can't say the man said anything wrong.
No, he did what he did.
He did what he had to do.
And that's another thing. We're not mature enough to accept people's viewpoints on things. A lot of the younger ones in our country are being marginalized, cast aside, ignored, and say, well, we don't want to really hear from you. We know what the problem is. You need a job. Okay, we can find something for you to do. Anything that we can find, you must take that and be satisfied with it, because really the truth is things are hard. And that's what you expect them to tell that to a medical student like Alyssa, and expect her to accept that. There are many like her out there who are, in fact, knowing what they want. They're just arms reach with getting it, but they can't get the finances. They can't get the push because a lot of things are just out of whack in this country.
And this happens, Steve, across the board. You know, you try to bring in, I've experienced this personally, you try to bring in a group here to do business, a legitimate group with their own money to do business for a viable project, and you cannot do it. They will not allow you to do it.
That's a serious thing. And so I was talking to Tennyson Wells 2 nights ago.
Right.
And Tennyson was telling me, and he's a former politician, former minister of agriculture and fisheries, transportation. He's been in just about every minute. Experienced man and a very good businessman, very successful in all that he does. And he's a qualified lawyer. But Tennyson Wells tells me that a major project that was here with some foreign partners went under because the leadership, the political leadership, or leadership couldn't see. The leadership tried to reason with international business savvy people who've done these things around the world with a local partner in Tennyson and his group, qualified consortium of wonderful businessmen. The leadership of this country tried to say and convince these men that, look, you know, this really can't work because we already got a Bahama, we already got an Atlantis, we got a Bahama, and if you do this thing out there in Coral Harbor, that could cause us all the scales to tip and problems could happen because all these properties got the component of a casino. All right, so that's interesting.
And let me ask you a question.
I'm saying this project ended up going to Atlanta. This project now is halfway home.
Right.
And we are out of 8,000 jobs that this project could have brought about in construction and in permanent jobs. And we had it here. It was ours first.
But Steve, that's just one story. There are many stories just like that that doesn't make any sense. And the first question is, these people who are supposed to be vetting these businesses know nothing about business.
That's another thing that
they never had no business.
Yeah,
they don't own no business.
Right.
And they obviously don't know. Look, if our leaders for 40 years knew anything about business, we would not have gone from number 1 in tourism in 1970 to number 7 or 8 where we are now.
That's right.
If they knew about business, we would not be in a deficit now. Because if you have a business and your business is running a deficit, you don't just go borrow money and keep going. You gotta diversify your product.
That's right.
And they have not done that. And they've proven that they do not know what they're doing.
This is a problem now, diversification. Let me give me your views on it, because it seems like we got two-tier. We got the tourism, and we've got this financial services, what's left of it. And that seems to be it. We need to develop our agriculture sector. If we were going forward, if we were to now stop all the madness, turn the page and say we're going forward, what would be those areas and sectors that we would need to go look at and develop? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, again, in business, you have to fine-tune what you have. Before you start adding a whole lot of other stuff, fix what you got.
Get them two right. Financial services.
Right. And tourism.
And
Get
tourism.
them right. Tourism has been a wonderful industry for the Bahamas, and so is banking, but they are not managed properly. Our whole problem as country is poor management. That's all it is. The opportunities exist. Let me give you something very simple we can do. Very simple. As simple as we have crabs walking every year. Well, why don't we invite tourists here to catch those crabs, and do never mind the little crab fest you have for 3 days. Man, make it through the whole crab season. Do you realize what a big business crabs are in the United States? You ever heard of Captain Crabs? That's a huge business. Americans love land and sea crabs, but we don't capitalize on it. And all you have to do is advertise it. You don't need to buy no crab. You got to buy no land. Just advertise that come to the Bahamas and catch crabs and have crab this, crab that, crab everything, and you'll be amazed at the amount of people that would respond to that. Alyssa was saying that, I think what you was saying on earlier, that we have proximity. What was it?
Yeah, Prince talked about
proximity. We have proximity to 420 million people. There's 250 million in America and about 50 million in Canada, right? How is it that we can have this proximity to all that volume and not be number one?
That's right.
How is that possible, Steve?
I don't know.
Beautiful weather.
You said it, perhaps poor management.
Absolutely. It can only be poor management, right? The other thing is this. About the crab idea. We have lots of places in islands that are closed. Not lodges that are closed. There's something called pet tourism that the Bahamas has never touched on, but it's a huge business because there are a lot of people, money people, who do not travel unless they carry their pet, their parrot, their dog, their cat. That is a huge international business, but we haven't touched on it. So those lodges could advertise we're pet-friendly resorts and open up a new market. It's as simple as it is, But again, we have people who are in charge of ministries and in charge of areas who wouldn't know a tourist if a whole boatload would fill on them.
Yeah, go ahead, Prince, because I'm looking at diversification of the economy.
Yeah,
and
I concur. Let me give you the examples, Mr. McKinney. Let's just look at ZNS, right? ZNS has a wonderful history, but look at the things look at the persons that have come out of ZNS and gone on their own. Yourself, for example, Wendell Jones.
Many of them, Tony Williams, Greg Lampkin.
Yes, I mean,
so many people.
All of these persons came out of ZNS and went their separate ways and became media successes, right? Success stories.
Yes.
Okay, doing very well, dealing with market forces, right? Doing their own advertising and marketing and budgeting and okay, all of it. And yet, when all of them were together under one roof, ZNS couldn't function the way any one of them functioned.
I can't argue with you. I cannot argue with you.
That's the point I'm trying to make. And the same thing is in the civil service. If you go into civil service, you'll find a lot of brilliant people with tons of degrees, expertise overseas, and they came back home and they're in a room and they're not getting the type of exposure to the Bahamian marketplace that they could, that they need, to be effective. How is it, I always say to myself, how is it that all of these, probably as many as nine persons who are in the media, doing excellent when you all were under one roof? ZNS didn't have the acclaim.
So this is the whole idea of diversification. Let some people do what they have to do.
Right.
Get this economy growing.
Market forces.
And certainly just allow for it to happen the way it happens. Now, of course, Alyssa has been wanting to tell me something for a little while now. Something I talked about with the diversification of the economy. What are those things that we ought to be doing to turn our country around?
I think the tourism idea is a good one, but we have to start before we could get to tourism, because tourism is outside. Tourism is relying on other people to come in. We have to fix our people first. We have to care for our people first. We have to fix education.
Yes.
And that's where my idea that I wrote to the minister, the letter I wrote to the minister, that's where that even comes in. It shows that you care for your people when you ensure that they have somewhere to stay.
Alyssa, let me just say this. She wrote a wonderful letter in 2006 to BJ Knowledge at the time, talking about a number of things. She had been driving with her mom and saw some guy bathing in a puddle of water, and she first laughed at it. She thought that was kind of like, hey, and then it dawned on her that, look, this is a short version of it, that, look, this can't be right. And she asked her mom, who was also a part of NIB for many years, about, why would that happen, and how can we have so many derelicts? I call them derelicts. Some people call them homeless people. These people who are moving from pillar to post, they're filthy. They have families. Obviously, some families can't control them, or some families don't care. But they become a part of the state. In some cases, because they may be wards of the state, since their heads may not be good in many directions. But she was talking about, why don't we do something about that? This is a tourist nation. We got to do something about that. We shouldn't have them like they're all over the place. In every country you go, they're all over the grass on the lawn in Washington. They're all over the place. But the point is this, and I take your point. We're so small for that to be. Why can't we have a house where, a complex where they can go and they can get food and shelter and clothing and a bath or take a shower, and they perhaps would even do it if there's food going on there. And one of the prerequisites before you get to eat, you got to go take your bath. Help to keep things good, manage our situation. But what we have is a nation that seems uncaring about those things. And people come and they judge us, just like they see all these derelict on the people on Long Wharf digging in garbage, digging up the garbage. The fellas, just clean it up, the fella right down there digging, they'll know what you're looking for, but they drop, you can't sit in, they cuss, they carry, and they're violent. It is very dangerous for people as well, yet no one caters. So she had a wonderful idea, and that's why I thought that she and I connected just by me reading her letter, that there's a lady with compassion who says, why don't we do something, and why don't we get this moving and get all of these other people involved who can help it grow? Am I right?
Yes, you're correct. And I will go back to, you speak of tourism. Tourism is on the decline for many reasons. And it could be homelessness. That could be one of the problems. Crime could be one of the issues. I say, we can't focus solely on tourism. We have to focus on what we're doing. We have to focus on our people. And with this idea, it shows, like I say, that you care for the well-being of your people. We have pumps on the side of the road, free water. We have public hospital and public clinics, free healthcare. We have public schools. But I've seen persons walking the road with little children. So yes, they have free healthcare, they have free education, they could get water, and they could get food and food stamps from social services. But where do they get ready every morning when they go to school? Where do they live? Where do they shower? Where do they study? And then we wonder why we have the results we're having. I mean, I'm not saying that every single person is in this case, but I mean, once you start from the bottom of just caring for the basic needs of your people, you work your way up, and I think we'll be in a much better position.
Obviously, you've not been impressed with what we call that the nation cares for people. You've not been impressed. You don't see that from where you sit.
I don't, because I still pass homeless persons. And I thought, I wrote this letter, it was a long time. I had to read it again to remember. It's been almost 10 years since I wrote that. And at that time, I thought, because I watched a lot of TV, there was YMCA and things like that I see on TV and homeless shelters. So I'm like, oh, we clearly have those over here. I don't know why they're outside. They could go there if they want to. But we don't have that. There's nowhere for them to go. After looking into it, there's nowhere for them to go. So when we deal with that, when we show that we care for our people more than we care about our economy, more than we care about tourism, when we show that we care about our people, then we'll have a change.
You're on the right wicket. Let me just add to this confusion for a second, because I've got other guests as well, but let me just add to this for our little quick debate. We see the fact that what Alyssa is saying is so very true. Some of us have not stopped to think about that because we are in our own little comfort zone. But could you imagine that we add Patrick on top of what she's saying with the homeless people, those who are losing their homes because we have no plan, or those who are in fact will in a minute need to have some kind of rehabilitation because of their being an addict to gambling and all the things that comes with it. That's going to come. See, you may not feel it now. There's a slow growth of people who are jonesing to gamble. I can tell you this from my own research. Yes. They work in government too. They, some of them are trying to use the machine to play the numbers all day. Some are hustling from their friends 10 cents, $10, and they weaken. Now, see, you may say, well, you know, no, sir, that's how it begins. And I don't know what plan we have in place for the many addicts that we are going to have upon us in a minute. See, and it's going to be legalized addicts because the cocaine epidemic was an illegal thing. And you saw what happened there with the Joneses. But we got legalized situations now that can spring forth many addicts who will do anything to satisfy their thirst. And these are things that we're not thinking. We're just doing things. Let's do that. That sounds good. That can make some money. Yeah, we might could tax that and this and that. Yeah, but what about the other byproducts of these things? And I just thought about it when she was saying that. I said, could you imagine? We got this homelessness now. We got these derelict people, and then we've got a dray load of addicts that's going to be graduating soon after the first 2-3 years of this legal gambling thing, and people who are going to be doing all manner of things to satisfy this habit that they now have. And gambling is a serious addiction. That's a serious. They say that gambling is more serious than the cocaine addiction because you will do anything to try to because you think you could win, and you sell the house, sell the watch, sell the car. Sell yourself. These are serious things. But let's don't dwell there. It's just something to think about. Let's look at what are we going to do now in a level of to create. We talked about creating better governance. We've got to just go there and do some things. We look at the business and financial sector, the banking sector. We've got to do some things. We look at crime. We didn't dwell on it too much, but this crime and this immigration problem. This can be the undoing of this entire nation. We don't know who's here. The future Bahamas obviously is going to have some kind of accountability in this area. Who is in our midst? It is very important for us to know that now. Why? We saw the other day the ministry, prime minister panicking in the parliament. We got to stop things. Somebody's hacked the Ministry of Tourism, the government's website. We got to do some things because we don't know what that means. It could be very dangerous to us. When we did the check, some terrorist group trying some foolishness. That's the reality. They normally target persons in the country, in any country, who have no stake. In other words, you could create an ally right now, people who have no stake in the land. They could give 2 cents about what's going to happen. The terrorists penetrate them. The next day we got a whole cell. And America's got to be concerned about that. But I don't know if we're talking about these things. These things are very, very dangerous because we are open border. We could hardly stop people from coming in, much less know who is here. Now, how do we fix that situation? I'd like to hear your ideas very quickly as to what would be the beginning process of trying to get a good idea as to who's in this country, who's doing what. How do we get to know that? How do we store a database? How do we do that? Because you're going to have to do this in a new Bahamas.
Well, I know that every single time I go to the States at immigration, I need to be fingerprinted every time. If I go away today, I'm fingerprinted. Take my picture. If I go away tomorrow, I'm fingerprinted. They take my picture. And I'm thinking that could be something we do with immigrants that come over here. Your name could change, but your fingerprints wouldn't. We could have a fingerprint machine so that we could register them as they come.
Yeah. We could do that, and we should do that for those who are coming into the country legally, so we can know. But we have a serious problem of growth of persons who are coming here who are illegal. They're not going to come through the front door. Once they come in illegal, they're doing everything illegally. Everything. They're going to get their papers straight illegally. They're going to get affidavits done. Nothing is going to be above the table. It's all going to be clandestine, because that's a whole different ball game of people. How do we as a country arrest this problem? And we're going to have to arrest it in the future. How do we do it?
You know, it won't be easy, but it will definitely require some very, very tough decisions to be made. We have among us a group of people who don't mean us no good. And these are the facts. Let's stick with the facts. These people basically don't like us. They want nothing to do with our culture. They could care 2 cents about our laws, and they're going to do what they do back home, which is whatever they want to do. There's no laws there, and they bring the same mentality here. The only way we're going to arrest the problem is to, I would say, go back to independence. And pick a date, but I chose independence 1973. And anyone that be fine here from that date, we read all of them out. All that got papers and all that got passport, read all of them out. And we got to clear up the ones who say they're legal, because the ones who say they're legal are the ones who are aiding and abetting those ones who are illegal. It ain't me and you, Steve. Right?
Yeah.
And we have to eradicate the shiny towns and be serious about it. It shouldn't be allowed to exist.
Are we to do something as drastic as the Dominican Republic? I mean, they had a recall. They went all the way back to 1910, somewhere around then. They're going forward and clearing up people. It's been a crazy situation. They've gotten a lot of pressure from human rights activists. We've been getting some pressure too from our groups of human rights people who've been going away and talking to the State Department and saying that we're doing things wrong and mistreating people. We have got to be able to face that and have the right answers if we're going to be honest in the process of eliminating the overload of people who are here who shouldn't be here.
Yes, what Dominican did is necessary. Now, they changed it a bit, and they didn't go back as far as originally planned. They were back about 15 or 20 years.
All right, I saw that.
Yeah. But we need to do the same thing. There is no other way.
And they gave them a whole year to register and to do things, and a lot of them have still not done it.
Right, because these people don't care about your laws. They don't care. That's a part of their culture.
Yeah. Now we know those are the problems. So how do we move from where we know the problems are now and going into the new Bahamas, Prince? How do we arrest the problem? How do we manage it going forward? What else do we need to do? Is there anything about sealing the borders? Is there anything about AV planes, that kind of thing? How do we? I suppose if we clean it up, you don't want to rake up the leaves and then the wind come and blow the leaves all over again. You got to rake them up again. What are we going to do?
Yeah, we're gonna have to actually take a look at ourselves and devise some concrete strategies and plans to prevent persons from infiltrating our borders. Okay? And this is how you do it. For example, if you take one of these boats that costs a couple $1 million, you could have bought probably 6 or 10 smaller crafts. We got a number of young, healthy, strong, unemployed men sitting on the blocks. Okay, many with credentials that can be trained. This could be, I don't know, Border Patrol. Just talking off the top of my head. Okay, Border Patrol
with presence. You mean you need to have presence?
Absolutely.
Presence gotta be there.
Trained with perhaps combined operations with the U.S. and the Defense Force and the police, and they could even operate jointly.
What if I tell you? I love it. Sorry, go ahead.
And they can put, and we give them a southern presence, a southern base. These are people who have to sign contracts that, listen, we're going to be domiciled in Inagua. This is where we're going to live. This is what the contract is, and I'm signing up for it because this is what I want to do. Get men and women of that kind of mindset. Build the bases, build the starter homes, get them anchored down there.
And that also will bring about economic growth in many communities.
Absolutely. You stimulate the economy, you stimulate the South, and then you have a symbiotic relationship. Okay? Then from that, you'll have spin-offs of people from those islands wanting to go back home and establish goods and services to support all of that. They're going to need laundry services and all those supermarkets and gas stations and what have you. That's how you stimulate growth and grow the economy.
So we got a prime opportunity, but we don't see it.
We don't see
it because of something else. And that's something else I want to put to you is this. Could it be?
Steve, let me just interject here real quickly. Remember, it's not the age of the person. It's the age of the ideas.
Absolutely.
If your ideas are outdated, they're not going to work to solve your problems today.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And a lot of people would adopt that. That sounds very, very good and very true. I think what our problem is, though, Alyssa, and of course, Patrick and Prince, as we get set to wrap up, and I'm going to have you back here again. So understand that you're on assignment now. Next week, Thursday, I want to have you back here again. We have begun a discussion that needs to continue. So fix your calendar. But what if I tell you that based on what I see, from what I've gathered from my research, from our research teams, from when I talk to people, what if I tell you that it doesn't seem as if there's a spirit within the leadership of this country? Leadership, I said. I didn't say political leadership. Leadership. Church, state leadership. That there's a spirit that they don't want to do anything about this.
I agree 100%.
See, this is what the problem is. If you have people who don't want to fix it because they don't see nothing wrong with it, there are people from the old school who say, we need others to build this country and we don't care how they do it, hodgepodge. We can do that. We can utilize other people to build the country, no question. But it has to be organized and contracted, just like your parents and mine went on the project, the contract, and they did things and they had a time to be there and a time not to be there. And it worked out well. We don't even want to do that. Did it ever occur to you, how in the world can we as a Bahamian society, knowing the problems that we have continuously, not decide to do a contractual arrangement with the Republic of Haiti in this particular case, since that's the predominant group? How come we've never done that? Why haven't we ever pursued that? Is it because we don't believe in that? Or is it because we want to spread this madness of corruption? Because so many people profit from these persons who come to the Bahamas and they're victims. These are God's children. They want to do good. They are running from bad things. But we can help in a better way if we were interested. It seems like there's great exploitation going on, and the powers that be in the leadership of the country, Patrick, don't want to do anything about it because it doesn't matter.
Well, Steve,
as far as they're concerned.
You're right. But it does matter. But it matters financially to them. If you can imagine, we crunched these numbers before and came up with a figure of about $100 million plus a year on illegal human smuggling from Haiti alone. And we aren't talking about Asia and Latin America and Africa. It's just
close to us.
Right.
Right now, back door.
Right. Does anyone here believe that $100 million a year is going to pass hands between our two countries and the leaders of the country don't get none? Not don't know, don't get none. Let's be real.
But in this climate of corruption, I suppose one cannot say that no, they won't get none. Everybody believes that everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
And so we have a culture of corruption, which I want to put on the assignment book for next time. How do we get around this culture of corruption? Because there's a culture of corruption that we have, and that's innate. And I don't know how you're going to stomp that out when that's become a part of the actual the psyche of many Bahamians or those resident in the Bahamas.
This is where we get back to persons in leadership having strong moral fibers. That's it. We need a firm foundation. We won't, if we are all on the same foundation, we will be a bit more unified as well. I can't say there'll be no corruption, but it would be a start. It would be a start. And it's also, we can't even rely on political parties, because I'm not going to even focus on political parties or anything like that. It's an individual thing. You have to be the change you want to see. So there are lots of people that share the same beliefs we do, but they're quiet. And nothing is going to happen if you don't speak up.
That's the key. And nothing is going to happen if you don't get involved and get in action.
Right.
Because governments and leaderships in anything, in any society, only believes in an outcry. If they see the outcry, if they see that, oh boy, these people, they're there for that, they will react.
Right.
But we are lazy, Patrick. We forget how to go and do things. Everybody likes to say, let's go march. And marching may be one aspect of a whole group of things that we ought to be doing. But everybody just says, let's march. They get up there in the sun, they get tired, they march, okay, fine. They had a placard, some people saw it, but it doesn't come off with the kind of power punch that you need.
Yeah.
There's some other things that can be done. In some societies, people boycott things. People refuse to go and spend. People do other things, but we don't seem to be getting there. We seem to, let's march. And then somebody told us that if you march, they'll see you, you'll be on TV, they'll say, look, we marched today, but nothing happens. Do you see any effective changes when people march?
No, we don't have the sufficient numbers to make a change.
We have the numbers, but we don't have people to go out and do it.
That's what I mean.
To make that big hue and cry.
That's what I mean.
Quite frankly, and I hope this doesn't get interpreted the wrong way, but most of the responses that have been delayed, right, that are very obvious in most nations who have come down the road that we are treading on right now, the reason why you don't see this outcry, okay, to the degree that it should be at this stage in our degradation is because of the number of soup kitchens and churches that are feeding people. You see, if people were left to their own devices to find food, those thousands of persons that are fed every day by churches and soup kitchens, that would be the masses who would be
angry enough
to make it happen.
So we're in a comfort zone.
But what's happening is the masses that you're expecting to show up aren't necessarily motivated enough to show up because their belly is full and they're getting a free meal. But you want to see something? Let the soup kitchens and all of the goodwill organizations close their door.
Just for 1 week.
Just for 1 week. Okay? And you will see there'll be a stark difference and a stark difference in their approach, okay, to express themselves as to where we are in our development or lack thereof.
But that can't happen. That can't happen.
Why not?
The soup kitchens are not morally going to do that.
Yeah, the Christian virtue, we care too much.
Right. So
but I know what Prince is saying.
I agree with you.
He's saying that if people are without, like for instance, we hear the politicians all the time refer to this misery index and so forth, and so many people are joining that. So many people are joining the lines of social welfare. People who you've never seen there before, they're on those lines, and there used to be a thing called shame and pride, where you buy. I want nobody to be there. That don't exist. In this country,
it's survival now.
There are people dressed right down to kill, look dead good, and they there, and they don't care if you see them now, because guess what? They need that couple of dollars.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there's a level of comfort that we are taking care of so many things that people don't have that fight anymore. But you see, your ma and your grandpa and them, they ain't had nothing to get free. You see the point? You wait for it, scrubbing them people porch and bar room, or you don't get it. You want that boy to go to school, you wake 6 and 7 barroom scrubbing floor. That's right. You wait for this man, that person, that host, that doing maid work. Anything you could do to get that couple of dollars to make sure that little Stevie he ain't gonna be in this position I in. I sacrifice it. See, that's a word that we didn't use today. Sacrifice is something that we don't know anything about anymore. There are parents every day, single mothers who are sacrificing for their children to get a better education, to have a better life.
To do what?
That's the point, and that's what Alyssa is saying now. Yeah, she don't know what the future is going to hold. She is doing the right thing.
Yeah,
she is getting the requisite help. The trouble is, at the end of the day, what's it all about, Alfie? Where are we going with it? That's a good place for us to stop today because I've got other guests to come in as well.
Okay,
and we've at least this has been an icebreaker. You now know that Mike is your friend, Alyssa, and you're with your colleagues here, and I like the dynamic because young Bahamian woman, she's in that category of between 19 and 35, looking with great ambition to the future. There's Patrick, who's a little older, who's perhaps in my generation. There's Prince, who's a little younger. So we're looking at three different groupings of people right here that are saying the same thing that means something to their level of demographic, which is very important in these conversations. Because what we really want to do, friends, we want to change. We want to have a paradigm shift. We want to change the culture of how we're thinking. We want to create a new Bahamas. And a new Bahamas must start with a conversation just like this. And so I want to thank you very much today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And of course, my guests today, Patrick Petty, Prince Smith, and Alyssa Storr, three dynamic young Bahamians, ordinary people. They ain't got no big name behind them. They just some ordinary people who got a lot to say and good ideas. And if everybody else would follow suit, your ideas are important if you're going to be a part of the new Bahamas. When we come back, we'll talk with some fellas with some old ideas, but with a new beginning. Mr. Campbell, you've heard his name before. And you've also heard about Reverend Andrew Stewart. They got a different concept. They're doing some things. It's the urgency of now. That's another generation of people too, a little older than Patrick, which means that now is the time for some serious change to be happening. We're going to talk with them next when we come back here tonight on Hard Copy.
Father's Day is not just about celebrating dads. It's about celebrating all that our dads are. Our protectors, our husbands, and our oldest friend. This Father's Day, don't forget to tell him, I'm so glad you're mine, with a gift from Bonneville Bones.
Bonneville Bones, a statement in fashion, a night on the town. Find us Bay Street, Mall and Marathon at Bonneville Bones.
Attention all shoppers. Win over $30,000 in trips this summer when you shop at Solomon's Cartwright and Fresh Market. Win round-trip tickets to New York, Atlanta, Panama, Cuba, Santo Domingo, and anywhere in the Bahamas when you buy any four of these brands in a single purchase. Hellman's, Pedigree, Joy, Coca-Cola, Libby, Sun Supreme, Mahatma, Bluebird, Shaman, Clorox, Vitamalt, Swab, Flash, and Robin Hood. Buy any four in a single purchase and win $30,000 only at Solomon's Cartwright and Fresh Market, Nassau and Freeport.
The choices we make can make us, like who we turn to for investment and retirement advice. Choosing CFAL means having a trusted advisor on your side, helping you build wealth and meet your financial goals. We manage pension assets for businesses and offer individual plans to help you design a secure retirement. We can provide brokerage services and comprehensive research support for clients needing a little more investment guidance. CFAL can help you build a portfolio you can be proud of. Visit us at cfal.com. CFAL sees your future.
3 words catapulted him to millionaire status. He calls it a wealth whisper. The Commonwealth Embassy presents the Billionaire Believer Summit 2015. 1 day, 2 nights of intensive success training. Dynamic speakers include Dr. Shawanta Johnson, Greg S. Reed, and Dr. Mike Murdoch of the Wisdom Center. Mark your calendars and make your way to the British Colonial Hilton, June 22nd to 23rd. Register now at CommonwealthEmbassy.org or call 376-8054. It's out of this world. Seats are limited.
What's hotter than summertime in the Bahamas? A Junkanoo and Goombay summer in the Bahamas. Get ready for one sizzling summer with 2 exciting street festivals. First up is Junkanoo Summer Festival every Saturday in July. Come see your favorite Junkanoo groups face off on Bay Street, and while you're there, enjoy mouth-watering Bahamian cuisine and entertainment. The heat continues into August with the return of the Goombay Summer Festival. Yes, you heard right. Goombay is back. back. Join us every Friday in August at Prince George Wharf and Pompey Square for live Bahamian music, delicious local cuisine, authentically Bahamian arts and crafts, and lots of games and entertainment. Junkanoo Summer Festival and Goombay Summer Festival, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism. See you every Saturday in July and every Friday in August. Visit bahamas.com/summerfestivals for more details.
Le Bleu, premium ultra pure drinking water. Ah, this is real refreshing stuff. Made especially for fine restaurants and hotels at the 5-star level. But you can drink it anywhere at any time because it's truly premium ultra pure drinking water. We believe that we've developed the ultimate process to produce the purest and best tasting water in the world. Le Bleu is the water that truly deserves to reside at your table, because a great meal should be accompanied by great water. And we present you with Le Bleu Premium Ultra Pure. Enjoy.
My dad's a hero. He can do anything. I think he can fly. He always knows when I need something. He's the fastest man alive.
Hero dads need a phone fast enough to keep up with all their hero work. Get him a Samsung Galaxy Grand Prime, Galaxy Alpha, or Samsung S6 Edge. Plus, get an extra 1 gig data on prepaid, or go postpaid and get 1 month double data on any combo plan of $59.99 or higher, so Dad can save the world and still make it back to soccer practice.
He's so strong. He's almost as strong as me.
Happy Father's Day to all the hero dads from BTC.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15, yes, 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive Printers. Laser checks. We do them right.
When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. The plane them spanking clean. The pilots their voice red. They fly you out on time. They flight attendants spread. Service is their passion. With you they take good care. Safety is their culture. Yes, they'll get you there. When I fly.
Fly with us to Fort Lauderdale or the beautiful Bahama Islands. Book today at 702-2600 or visit our website at skybahamas.net and experience skies.
Oh, I love my island. Oh, my island mate. Oh, I love my island. My island mate. Oh, I love my island.
Island Made, locally produced products here in the Bahamas and available for purchase. For more information about our products, give us a call at 362-1102 or 362-1113. Island Made brands located in the Bacardi plants, encouraging you to buy Bahamian and support local entrepreneurship.
My island mate. Regards in the club, that's my island mate.
Well, what the world you got in these suitcases you told in the superwash?
Rachel come home with this cat. It's a pretty cat now. But he ain't getting toilet things down park yet.
So he going on the rug?
On the rug? I wish it was only the rug. Homeboy baptized our couch with some of that territory market spray what they just use.
Well, why don't you get one janitorial service to come in and clean rather than carrying all these cushions to the wash house?
I do that. Now it smell like pine-scented parking lot after Junkanoo. So these go to the superwash.
That cat pee no match with them big boys now, I can tell you that.
You got that right. And when I get them dry, they're going straight to the composter for plastic covering.
I don't blame you, girl. But what you gonna do with the cat?
He going obedient training where he gonna learn how to use the toilet.
You mean the litter box?
No. I mean the toilet. He gonna learn how to doggone use that toilet or he could be in timeout all day.
Hey, Superwash. They washes your presses, it cleans you, and entertains you 24/7.
When it comes to hurricane season, being ready isn't enough. You have to be prepared. Prepare early at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets with great specials like 15-ounce Libby's corn or sliced beets, $1.39. Seneca apple juice, 64-ounce size, $2.99. Domestic foil, 25-foot box, $1.49. Fresh Currito all-purpose cleaners, 32-ounce bottle, $1.59. Low sodium Ciara chicken franks, 12-ounce pack, 99 cents. Find everything you need to be prepared this hurricane season at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
Entrepreneurs, are you missing out on sales because you don't accept credit card payments? Then BLB has the solution for you. Introducing BLB Mobile Express, the most affordable mobile card processing package for self-employed persons. With BLB Mobile Express, you can accept credit card payments almost anywhere on your smartphone or tablet, so you never have to miss a sale. Get paid on the spot with BLB Mobile Express. Visit any BLB branch or call us at 397-3000. BLB, your bank of solutions.
The best insurance in town is Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They are simply the best because they provide easy, affordable insurance rates for home, car, business, or whatever is valuable or important to you. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, is the fastest, most progressive insurance company in the Bahamas because they really take care of you by making insurance totally affordable. Call them now at 356-0285 or 6 or email them at info@advantagebahamas.com.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, heat and cooling water pumps, generators and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
At Henry F. Store Electric Company, we supply all your electric needs for any size project, from residential housing to luxury hotels. We can help you achieve just the right look, from doorbells to chandeliers, table lamps to ceiling fans, wire, conduit, panels, dimmers, switches, plugs, and even tools. And don't forget light bulbs. We have those hard-to-find, energy-saving fluorescent bulbs and more. Henry F. Store Electric, number 135 Mackey Street. Over 50 years of reliability, service, and low prices. We also ship to the Family Islands.
When Steve talks, people listen. People listen. People listen.
Welcome back to Hard Copy on this Thursday afternoon. And of course, in this segment today, as we continue our theme of building a new Bahamas, trying to have this paradigm shift happen, trying to go to another level because we're all tired of the same old. And Lord knows we need to change somewhere in the mix so that we can get this country rolling again. A lot of things are at a standstill, notwithstanding that successive governments have tried some things and they've been good in some cases and disastrous in other cases. There's a need for a new way of thinking in our country, and not just because of the prophecy of what Miles Monroe said, but because the time has come. We are 40 years removed, another generation from where we were in 73. And a lot of things have changed in that time. In some areas, we've made some strides. In some areas, we've really fallen flat on our faces. You heard persons from the earlier segment talk about we are fast becoming a failed state if we don't do some things. And that means that everybody must enlist themselves voluntarily to do something to make a difference. And so today, my guests in this particular segment include Wesley Campbell and Reverend Andrew Stewart. Now, they're from a new group of people, but they've been around, as I said earlier before the break, for a long time. Now they're doing some new ideas because maybe the time has come. You know, Wes Campbell, he was one time ago a part of a big movement of the Vanguard in the Bahamas. You hear people say, you either PLP, FNM, or Vanguard. That used to be talk. Now they say either PLP, FNM, or DNA. But Wes Campbell is a very, very qualified, very educated man who's been trained in many areas and believes in national development in a big way. And so is Reverend Andrew Stewart, who also is one of many brothers who've come from the mother of church, I suppose you could call her, Mother Lavinia Stewart, who grew up so many people around the Camp Road and the inner city areas of the Bahamas. He's the brother of Alfred Stewart, Reverend Alfred Stewart, and also the brother of Timothy Stewart from the Great Bethel Baptist Church. Alfred Stewart, of course, is at the big church Zion South. And so we are looking to them today with great expectation that we are going to hear something. We're going to hear something because we're open-minded. The country seems to be so much on the precipice of change, desperate for changes in many sectors, that we, the people, are open-minded to any and everyone who want to help to build a new Bahamas. And certainly, age is nothing but a number. You can, a man may be old, as a fellow told me earlier today, but his ideas are ageless. I mean, ideas are a beautiful thing. And today, I believe we're talking with two individuals with beautiful minds. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you? Wesley Campbell and, of course, Reverend Andrew Stewart.
Good afternoon,
Good
afternoon. Steve McKinney. Good afternoon, Bahamas. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Absolutely. And certainly. Bahamas National Citizen Coalition is how they started out. And a lot of people were like, okay, what is that all about? They had a 25-year development plan talking about the budget for a new government. The Bahamas using the national resources as a sovereign collateral to raise $100 billion from the World Bank to fund future economic developments, infrastructural and human development. They want to do some things, and a number of things have caused them to come to this place again to say, hey, we must begin over west. Is that where we are, that we must begin again?
Well, before I start, Brother McKinney, I'd like for the chairman to take the lead because, I like to follow.
Oh, Andrew's the chairman. I thought that you were just one big group of everybody was equal.
No. We
no
have
problems. Go right
structure,
ahead.
so-
Yeah, well, go right ahead. Go right ahead, Reverend Stewart.
What you were pointing to is the way I like it too. I like for Mr. Campbell to lead. But what I would wish to do as a foundation is to update your listeners in about 1 minute as to how we transitioned from the BNCC to the BNCP, which could give us a foundation to launch any questions at this point. And in a press statement, a recent press statement we said, we have met to announce the Bahamas National Citizens Coalition, that it has transitioned to the Bahamas National Coalition, Citizens Coalition Party. I repeat, the Bahamas National Coalition Party. The BNCC has proven that it is a formidable force in the country, and the BNCP intends to take that to a much higher level. The stage of our development has been long in the making. From we started igniting or agitating for the people on the oil issue, which then transitioned to the Aragonite issue, and then to all the natural resources in the Bahamas. Our fight is for the Bahamians of the Bahamas to receive their fair patrimony or their fair share, which is their God-given right. And we are, as you have pointed out, and even your former guests, that we are for substantive, systematic, and fundamental change in the country that rest on the natural resources as the underpinning of our financial success and prosperity.
Now, that's all well and good, but we've always had these natural resources that seem to have been a big secret in the country. There are many learned men who knew of it and always had ideas as to what could be done as a result of it. And I'm talking about through successive governments. Today, we hear a whole lot about it, Wes Campbell.
Right.
And we don't hear anybody admitting to any such thing. In fact, a lot of people have frowned upon gentlemen like you who said that we've got enough to do a number of things to save the country and not even have a budget deficit, not even have a national debt. And yet those who are in authority, in leadership in our country, not a peep out of them to say that, well, they saying this, but here's the real fact. So there are many people who are believing there exists all of this wealth in the nation, and this wealth has been given to us by God, and a number of things can happen so that we will, in fact, be able to prosper. What's wrong with the picture, Wes? How come there are people who are in authority who refuse to talk about it and enlighten the people if they're so incorrect?
Well, to go back to a period in our history In fact, there's an exact date, 1942. The Burma Road human rights demonstration. Now, listen to what I'm saying very carefully, Bahamas, because there has been a deliberate attempt to stigmatize the most pivotal moment in our history and criminalize it so that going forward, Bahamians would distance themselves from the Burma Road human rights experience. It was not a riot, as stated by Alexander Lindrop, the then Commissioner of Police, in his report at the Commission of Inquiry that was held subsequent to the incident. 3 pivotal things happened, McKinney, as a result of that human rights demonstration. The most significant of those 3 things was that the then British government gave to the American Museum of Modern Science in Washington the right to do an evaluation of the natural resources of the Bahamas. 2 years later, the museum reported, and what they found was staggering. They documented that the Bahamas had natural resources that were in a state of purity, found no place else on planet Earth. Aragonite, that we commonly call sand, is one of those elements. Now, this aragonite was found and documented in 1944 to be 98% purity, which means that you can just put a hose into the sea, 10, 12, 13, 14 feet of water, and suck it up in its pure granulated state. The other thing that they found was that we had other minerals in the Bahamas: manganese, cobalt, gold, silver, quartz, underneath the Great Bahama Banks and Little Bahama Banks. Treasures that haven't been touched. They also found that there was oil in the Bahamas.
1944.
1944, and actually it was 2 years earlier, the British government, that same group who were doing the development of the Windsor Field,
yes,
just about a mile and a half south of where we are now, they found oil in Andros. But the technology in those days was too antiquated to really deal with it. But let me deal just with the aragonite, because I want to deal with the oil a little later. In 1964, Roland Simonet, who was then a member of parliament, brought from Hawaii a company called Billingham's Corporation. And they were given authorization to amass the aragonite around Ocean Key, South Bimini.
Yes.
And they amassed some 15 million tons, 15,000 tons. And that started the exportation of aragonite from the Bahamas. Now, there is a document that clearly shows that the Bahamas government was being paid 6 cents per metric ton. Roland Simonet arrogated to himself the lease for Ocean Key development. There was no lease in 1964. He just unilaterally made the decision that all the assets of the aragonite was going to be his.
Around Ocean Key.
Around Ocean Key. Now, 1955, Stafford Sands met a gentleman who had been in prison in New York.
1965.
55. This is 9 years earlier. And this gentleman was named Wallace Groves.
Yes, the man who developed Freeport.
Now, it's interesting to know the Museum of Modern Science in Washington did the study. So how did Wallace Groves get the documents which were top secret between two governments, the British government and the American government. How did Wallace Groves get access to this information? That's probably a conversation for a different time. The point is, he ended up in New Providence, and he made an agreement with Stafford Sands. Thus, you had the creation of the Oxbill Creek agreement, and following a year later by the Port Authority agreement. The old scheme of the Hawksbill Creek Agreement was to harvest the aragonite from Grand Bahama, because Grand Bahama is a mass of calcium carbonate.
Yes. Yes.
And so this old notion that they were going to build this massive city and massive development in Grand Bahama was a scam.
Stop right there for a second. I've heard this story, and I'm happy that you're telling it again, because there are many people who have not heard this. Why I stopped you and put a pin there is that because you said the real McCoy was to get after the natural resources.
Exactly.
The real McCoy was not to build a city.
No.
The city was a byproduct of the exploitation.
Unfortunately for black people in Grand Bahama,
I see,
who became citizens later, because Grand Bahama had a very sparse population. The majority of the people lived on the outer islands of Grand Bahama called Water Key. Okay? Most of the black inhabitants of Grand Bahama went there after 55.
Right.
Okay? Now, under the concept that Wallace Groves had, they brought in a lot of foreigners. Because when you go to Grand Bahama, you see the massive canal systems in Grand Bahama.
That's correct.
And all that was for the excavation of the aragonite. Never intended to build no massive cities or canalways or turn Grand Bahama into a paradise. The purity of the aragonite in Grand Bahama is such that it is 98 to 100%. And today, construction workers in Grand Bahama, contractors who are doing work in Grand Bahama, can't buy fill from Bahama Rock and Marriott's, because all of the fill has been contracted to companies in the United States going forward. And this is from 1955.
My Lord.
Now, we take the position, BNCP, that the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the Oxbill Creek Agreement should be canceled. That should be abrogated by the government of the Bahamas, because it's a direct contradiction, not only to the development of the Bahamas, but it's also a direct contradiction to the development of the people of Freeport, because the feudal structure that they put in place there is really a shield to allow the Port Authority to operate independently of the government of the Bahamas.
So we're hearing.
Do you realize that Bahama Rock and Marriott is trading on the U.S. Stock Exchange at more than $1 billion per month?
No, I didn't realize.
Well, you need to check it. You need to check it. Grand Bahama is a feudal structure. And when you look at the documents, the Grand Bahama Port Authority, it's signed by Governor Stableton, 1955. Remember now, we were not an independent country. I had not even reached the stage of internal self-government. So the British government had a direct interest in the newfound wealth of the Bahamas. And who represented the British government? Jack Hayward.
That's how he got into.
That's how he got into Grand Bahama. Because remember, Edward St. George was a pedestrian magistrate in New Providence in Bank Lane. Lyndon Oscar Pinlan put him as a partner with Jack Hayward. And they've been running that scam on the Bahamian people for the last 40, almost 50 some years.
Now, this is because some people saw our natural raw.
1942, British government allowed the American Museum of Modern Science to do a survey, and they found the result of that exploration was that there are minerals, resources in the Bahamas unique in the world. And they have been robbing us of those resources ever since. Now, Stafford Sands set up the scam in Grand Bahama. Roland Simonette set it up in Ocean Key. The Erickson family out of Canada did a similar thing in Inagua with our salt. Do you know that the salt on the world market is sold at $2 per kilo?
Yeah, per pound.
No, kilo.
Yeah.
Which means when you convert that, that's $4 a pound, or 2,000 pounds to a ton, 2,200 pounds to a long ton, which is $4,400 a ton. But what is really devastating to us is that the salt, the government of the Bahamas has relinquished all rights to a royalty from Inagua. The Inaguans have a good job, but the Morton Salt Company has a free-for-all for all of the salt that they harvest in Grand Bahama. They send it to Ohio and to Halifax in Canada. But McKinney, a greater part of it is exported to Germany to a company called KFC. It's a massive German industrial complex operation. And they break down our salt so that they produce the nitrates, the chlorides, and other derivatives. But our salt is used in the munition factories in Germany to produce ammunition and weapons which are sold into the third world. It is a multi-trillion-dollar operation.
With our salt.
With our salt.
That we
and the
really have
Bahamas
no-
government has abrogated its right to even get a modicum of a royalty.
Why would they do that? They didn't know better?
That is the issue. That is the question. It was three prime ministers on our side have followed this pattern as prime minister and have allowed this iniquitous situation to go on and have not done anything about it. Now, we have to give Hubert Ingram a little credit. In 2011, Hubert Ingram changed the royalty from 6 cents to $2. But the damaging thing he did was that he extended the lease out 25 years to 2035. Right now, our aragonite goes to the port of Miami and Fort Myers in Florida. It is then shipped by railway to Arkansas and is degraded in Arkansas and shipped to 36 different states within the United States. It is the mainstay of the fertilizer for the U.S. Midwest agricultural production. It is also the mainstay of their industrial complex. It is also the mainstay of their technological requirements for natural resources. And Steve, it is the basis of the next stage, the next template of technological development. There are two countries in the world that have this raw material that are going to drive the economy for the world. The Bahamas is one, that's why the Chinese are here, and the other is Peru. We have the aragonite, Peru has the graphite.
In addition, Mr. Campbell, Silicon Valley is the foundation of Silicon Valley, and what keeps Silicon Valley going is our aragonite, because our aragonite is in the chips and all of these things that are made in Silicon Valley.
Now we hear all these things, right? And I hear what you're saying, and I can understand the first part of our development under that old oligarchy.
Right.
Of Stafford Sands and those who did what they did to empower themselves, enrich themselves, so forth and so on. But I cannot figure out how we are saying that since the time of Lyndon Pindling, Hubert Alexander Ingham and his present government, Perry Christie, his present prime minister, that we know the information, that we know that aragonite has the potential to develop a new economic system for all citizens of the Bahamas, that we have done nothing. We have been all about prostituting ourselves and prostrating ourselves before these foreign investors to come and try to stimulate our economy while we get a couple of little funny little jobs and we feel good. Now, if we have all of this and nobody is talking about it, it seems to be a big secret, something to not let the natives know about, because there could be great agitation and unrest and that kind of a thing. What do you hope to have happen out of this? Because really, we do need to pivot. We do need to have a new economic structure. We do need to have some things, and we don't have no money. We can borrow ourselves into prosperity, because borrowing means that we pay back. But if we have to ourselves all of these things that you say that we have, and I've been hearing this for months and for years now, that we do have these things, these deposits with oil and aragonite and all this in our Bahamas. Yet you're saying to me, no one in authority, no leadership in authority is pursuing bringing about the justice for the country for all the past sins that we would have committed by just being ignorant to the whole thing and bring about a change. You're telling me that even now, though we have done the research, we know the information, we see how all the chips add up, we know that it can be a lie. You're telling me now that we still don't have a way of getting this back on our part of the...
This is now 2015.
Yes, it is.
2013, May the 7th. We led a delegation to Bay Street. John Pinder, the leader of BPSU and the leader of the NCTU, read a press statement in which he pleaded with this prime minister to cancel the agreement with Ocean Key and to ask for a new agreement for a minimum of $350 per ton on our aragonite. We didn't even have the courtesy of a response.
There was response. There was some surrogates who said that Wesley and John and them don't know what they talk about. The names, they said that, look, they don't know what they're saying. The information is incorrect. It's false what they're talking about. It cannot be proven. It is ludicrous, they said. Any number of things. They didn't respond directly, the government didn't, but surrogates, those persons who are influential in the government and who do the government's bidding, they had talked all kinds of things, saying that, you guys out to lunch, the numbers couldn't possibly be right. This is not true. You think the government of the Bahamas would not have capitalized on that if this was so. So you were made to be
like a fool.
Yeah, not to look like to be ignored. Don't mind them. They don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Well, let me read you this document, Steve, so the Bahamian people can hear it. This is Campbell Clare, Office of the Prime Minister, June 3rd, 2010. RE Ocean Key lease and royalty payments. I'm writing in response to your letter of even caption addressed to the undersigned and dated 1st of June 2010. I'm further directed to advise that approval has been granted to your client Ocean Key Limited to recommence its mining operation at Ocean Key and to export aragonite from the Bahamas subject to the following terms and conditions. 1, for a period of 2 years commencing from the date of this letter, the royalty payable to the government shall be $2 per metric ton, payable at the time of export from the Bahamas. This royalty will be subject to review at the end of the period, with the new term being reflected in the proposed new lease. The payment shall be made payable to the public treasury and lodged at the Department of Lands and Surveys. That sounds straight to you? Lodged at the Department of Lands and Survey, not at the Department, not the Department Ministry of Finance.
Yeah, Lands and Surveys come under the Prime Minister's portfolio, Lands and Finance. That's correct.
2, for a period of 2 years commencing from the date of this letter, and the fixed lease payment shall be assessed. Ocean Key Limited shall be $7,500 per annum. $1 billion business.
Operation. We get $7,500 per year.
The payment shall be made payable to the public treasury and lodged with the Department of Lands and Surveys. Have you ever heard in a budget debate or budget presentation of either the FNM or the PLP reference made to the aggregate of the natural resources being contributed to?
No, it's unaccounted for.
Okay.
It's unaccounted for. You're right.
Okay. So this document, have you ever heard of this document being ratified by a parliament of the Bahamas in the last 43 years?
No.
All right. Well, this document gave rise to a company in Florida by the name of Oceanite, and you could look it up, Google it. They are claiming as a result of this document that they have on the Great Bahama Banks 1 billion tons of aragonite in reserve for the American market. Now, the interesting thing about the aragonite, Steve, is that if you go and you scoop up a million tons today, by the end of the month,
it's right back.
It's right back
naturally.
There. It's a God element.
Yeah. This is what Michelin Seymour has talked to me about when he says that the way of the natural flow of the ocean currents and that of the sun, and that of the the Gulf Stream, all of these deposits of sand, natural in its form, is going to always be a recurring thing. It's going to always happen.
Natural. It's just like oxygen.
So does that mean that that's why we would have done things outside of our jurisdiction, outside of the books of bookkeeping, because we know it's always going to be there, so it's no big deal?
Well, the question is, who is profiting from this natural resource? Is it the Bahamian people?
No, certainly
or is
not
it
the Bahamian people.
A selected few? Do you know that aragonite was used in Dubai to build that fantastic island development over there? It was our sand. Who sold it to them? Who sold it to them?
Only could it be the Bahamas government, eh?
Did really?
Or could it be Ocean Club? Not Ocean Club,
Ocean
Ocean
Key?
Key? Or could it be the folks in Grand Bahama?
So why are the Bahamian people not profiting from a resource that is inherently theirs?
Now we get that, Wesley. What does this mean, though? Are we going to see a change?
No, that leads us to before I want to go into that, let me just tell you about the oil. 1986, Tenneco out of Texas got permission from Lyndon Pinland, Prime Minister of the Bahamas, to drill 7 wells in different locations in the Bahamas. And I will read you those locations. They call them Manta Bay, Sand Shark, Bluefin, Lionfish, Blue Marlin, Grouper, Hammerhead, even before lionfish became a popular invasive species. They had it documented as an oil well. Manta Bay has an estimate 1.447 billion barrels. Sand Shark estimate 1.386 billion barrels. Bluefin estimate 3.449 billion barrels. Lionfish 9.4 billion barrels. Grouper estimate 6.492 billion barrels. Hammerhead estimate 1.007 billion barrels. And this is what the testing indicated. 1, 3 traps identified as fulls of where oil has accumulated. These traps rival those of the Middle East in size. The Bahamas oil potential is as big as those of the Middle East. Not my words.
The traps are seen there on the back page. That's the actual
this is
traps.
A document from the files of Tenneco.
This is what they found.
This is what they found. And so that's why we have been demonstrating and raising opposition against BPC, because this oil company that this Australian fella is leading is not a bona fide oil company. It's a venture capitalist company. This man by name Alan Burns, 1992, came here with an instrument searching for hidden treasure. And by some strange quirk, he ended up with the right political connections, and this fella ended up with 2 petroleum licenses from the government of the Bahamas. We went to Inspector Smith, led a delegation 2.5 years ago down to their office. And you know where their office is located?
Tell me.
You don't know?
Office of Prime Minister?
What's that village down outside of Life at Key called?
Sandy Port?
No.
The other one. Caves?
The one.
Oh, you're talking about Old Fort Bay.
No, the Black Village.
Oh, Mount Pleasant.
Okay. Just want to make sure you know. Right on the perimeter of Mount Pleasant is the office of Bahamas Petroleum Company. Now, which company you know that it comes to the Bahamas to do big business, go and hide out on the south quadrant of the island where the average Bahamian will not know where they are? That's where their office is located. We had a number of meetings down there with Simon Porter. We have challenged the office of the Prime Minister to make open to the Bahamian people this mysterious contract that Porter claims he has over the oil resources of the Bahamas.
We took him to court.
We took him to court and can't get a date
for over a year and a
to
half
pursue this matter. We've been trying for the last 3 years to get an injunction against the Bahamas Petroleum Company Limited and can't get a date from the court.
So this is widespread. This is widespread. This secret, let me call it secret for right now. This keep away position that nobody is telling us anything who are in authority, but obviously they know the information, and obviously a lot of things are happening behind closed doors based upon what you have presented to me today. Yet we're making no breakthrough. Now, how do we?
Let me go a little further, Steve. This is the Petroleum Bill 2015, powers of minister section, minister to be a corporation sole. Remember the fellow who ran against Obama in the United States?
Romney.
Romney said corporations are personalities.
Are people.
They are people.
Mitt Romney, yeah.
Minister shall be a sole corporation sole. All property vested in the minister pursuant to this section shall be held by the minister in trust for Her Majesty in right of her government of the Bahamas for the purpose of the aforementioned function. Now,
Could you imagine
what the Queen got to do with the natural resources of the Bahamas? See, this lead back to 1942 and the agreements that were put in place then. Remember, the Petroleum Act of 1970 is the same act that jammed the Trinidadians, and is the same act that the British used to steal all of the resources in Africa. And the government of the Bahamas is following the same pattern.
Colonialism all over again.
The frightening thing about this is that 3 law firms were involved in this operation. Okay,
that's interesting.
They floated 1 billion shares on not the primary British stock market, but the secondary British stock market, because they didn't have the collateral or the financial means to qualify. And Bahamians have been denied even buying shares. Now, these shares were at 5 pence a share 3 years ago. And we pleaded with Paul Gosler, who was the CFO, and Potter, to make shares available to the Bahamian people. And they've been lying to us ever since. Yeah, they're going to be available in October, and they're going to be involved.
So we are people who have all this stuff, but we've been shut out.
But our
We've
government,
been shut out.
Our
government has been the facilitators of them shutting us, the people, out.
And
The government seems to have no interest in doing this on above board, so that the people of the country may prosper, but you have suspicions that they may be doing some
But
things.
what they've done is treasonous.
Mhm.
And allow us to state our posturing to bring all of this into correctness. We are determined that we would not simply be an agitative group, a rowdy group. We have made that the determination that we are going to enter the political landscape where we as a political group and a government eventually will be able to make the changes that we know are needed in this country. The substantive.
I think that's the only way it can happen because of the.
That's the only way.
Well, that's why I want to get to the real issue here, Steve, and that is the systemic and fundamental structural changes that needs to take place to our society and to our form of governance. And that's why in our 25-year development plan, we've made it very clear in the first provision, we say the following is a prospectus on development objectives and pursuing a new economic agenda. 1, establishment of a wealth fund trust. And the reason why we're pushing the wealth fund trust, even if BNCP becomes the government, we want to put in place a structure that the government of the Bahamas is not in control of the natural resources of our country. It has to be a new paradigm where civil society, the best of our people in finances and in fiduciary operations, along with oversight from the central government, have control of that particular structure. It is too vital and important to the well-being and the future of our country that the participation in the management of that be shared across the broad spectrum of our society, and so that the least among us have a chance to sit on that board to make sure there's balance.
Well, that'd be
no government of the Bahamas going forward should be in control of the resources of our country. We should limit the allocations to the government in like Norway and Sweden.
Yes,
5 to 7% is enough, right? Those who have been working with us on the outside are telling us our nation's wealth is in around $30 trillion. But we have been corrected. That is more than 30 trillion. It is above $32.5 trillion. You look shocked.
Yeah, I am shocked.
So we are simply saying the last 40 years, successive governments of the Bahamas, PLP and FNM, have wasted more than $100 billion in budgetary financing in the Bahamas. And you see nothing qualitative for it in terms of the development of our country for our people.
Very true.
And they have run up a debt of over $6 billion and climbing. And so we're saying, look, there's a way to resolve this definite deficit psychology. The various international institutions are bleeding us because they are feeding us this, well, you need to borrow 300 million, you need to borrow 500 million for this, and you need to buy 500 million for that. And every budgetary allocation from PLP and FNM, you see this movement towards further debt.
More borrowing.
More borrowing. We say the solution to that, since they're using the collateral resources, the sovereign resources of our country, to as the means by which they can borrow this, because those countries and those institutions, they know what the value of our country is. They know what the net value of our resources are.
Let me say this to you and ask you this question. You made mention that Grand Bahama was really not about development with all of these elaborate thoughts of canal homes and so forth. It's about looking for the aragonite, dredging,
and they're still doing it,
and excavating.
And they're still doing it.
Now, someone has just recently told me, who is way up there in the financial world, very respected, if I call his name, you'll know, says to me that, look, this whole Bahama project is pretty much the same situation.
Well,
that they're not really looking to build a nest of hotels with big names, but they're really interested in the land of the Bahamas, how you put it, and the stuff in the sea. And he said he don't mean fish.
Yes, absolutely.
And he says that this is what the Chinese people were looking at with a hope that, yes, give this fella some monies and start this thing, but are they looking for it to succeed as we are looking for it to succeed from a political end? Because we want to make sure some people get some jobs, and that's as far as our eyes could see or our imagination could go. Couple little job, a little token thing. But the real big picture, says this big investment banker, is to really go there and see what you can find to get hold of that land to do other things where the real money is.
Even the Bimini project and the Abaco project, nothing but aragonite.
If you go to Abaco right now, jump on a plane, go to Abaco right now, and go to Guanakee. You know the development there?
Guanakee, yeah.
What's the name of the development there?
Bakers.
All right. You know the place. Do you know that Baker's Bay is a scam for the excavation of aragonite from around Guanakee?
But I mean,
if you go there now, the big dredges.
Yes.
Working there.
Yes.
They are,
but
hold a second. They are collecting the aragonite and packing it in 50-pound bags under the guise of cement. Now, where are they producing cement in Abaco? There's no cement factory or silos in Abaco. They are stealing the aragonite.
Listen, Peter Puch told me some years ago, at least 7-8 years ago, that we've had serious dredging in our harbors, that most of these little small tourist resorts that pop up around here, that says, even inside the well preserved area of Exuma, where they have the national park, where the Aga Khan has gone.
I was about to call his name.
I'm told that it's all about looking for sand. That's why they want to listen. That's why they want to do this 20-boat slip
down in Exuma. You have natural deposits of manganese rolling on the floor of the sea. Let me repeat that. Natural deposits of manganese in its purest state on the bottom of the sea in Exuma.
So what does manganese do? Well, how important?
You don't know
is
how
that?
valuable manganese is?
I want you to tell me.
Manganese is just as valuable as aragonite. It is used in medicine. It is what they call a palliative. It is a preservative. It is an healing element. Look, I don't want. I have to say this, Brother Seymour. Since you refused to come and join me, I have to say this. There is a spiritual component about the Bahamas, and if you go to Isaiah, you will read that in the isles of the sea lies the abundance of wealth. The future of the Bahamas and its uniqueness is foretold in Scripture. That's as far as I go. Now, you know Mickelson Seymour,
I know Mick Seymour.
and I know Mickelson Seymour. Now, my brother, you know what you need to be doing. I'm not going to cross the line, okay? That's between me and him.
Yeah, but I mean, I would have thought that he would have been here because he likes to come here. But what is happening? Is there friction? I mean, why isn't he here?
No, he understands the spiritual aspect of prophecy, and you know, he's my good brother.
I understand.
And
I got you.
Conversate about the importance of the Bahamas in prophecy, but there are some substantial political things, sociological things that we have to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what we have done, Steve, is we put together a budget, a very practical budget for the Bahamian people. And so we simply say, drawing down on $100 billion, and this is how we allocate that $100 billion. $500 million is to go to every Bahamian household. Now, you notice the second provision in our budget is to establish a Commonwealth of the Bahamas National Sovereign Fund Trust.
Mhm.
And the reason why we want to establish this National Sovereign Fund Trust is because of our peculiar history. What has happened to our people is that this colonial system has not only distorted the development of our country, but it has deliberately underdeveloped the majority of our people. This is a systemic problem. And to break this up once and for all, we have to destroy poverty. And so we're saying from the wealth of the country, every household should be able to receive, just like in other countries where they have these kinds of sovereign funds, a distribution. And we're saying every Bahamian household should get a minimum every year of $100,000 from the Commonwealth Sovereign Fund, separate and apart from what you make because of your labor.
Mhm.
It happens in Dubai, it happens in Qatar, it happens in Norway and Sweden. From their wealth fund, they put it into the sovereign fund so that their people can get a distribution. So all of their social services, all of their healthcare provisions, all of their education, all of their sporting requirements are not funded from the government. It comes from, and not from taxes, it comes from this sovereign fund, because this abundance of wealth that they are getting from their oil, they are given back to their people. And what that does, it expands democracy.
And it grows.
It empowers
everything.
its people. Two things we need to destroy in our country. We need to destroy the psychological dependency that this colonial system has created, and we have to destroy the neo-colonial structure that has been imposed by the Canadians and the Americans. Now, the Canadians have us in a situation where all of our mortgages are held by Canadian banks.
Yes.
And that's why we say we want to put a moratorium on those banks, on that holding Bahamian mortgages, and we want to allocate $2 billion so that we can wipe out all of the Bahamian mortgages and rewrite them in a structure where Bahamians control the mortgage and redemption of those assets for our people. You cannot have a sovereign independent nation if the most critical long-term investments made by your people are held by foreign banks. It's a contradiction. And so we're saying, with $100 million, not only can we put the College of the Bahamas to a university status by allocating $1 billion, all the problems we have in our schools, we can deal with by allocating $1 billion to develop the right schools, the right parks, the right sports, the right tracks, swimming pools, recreational facilities for our people. Look what Williams did up in Morris Island with nothing. The fastest young Bahamian 19-year-old gardener out of Morris Island came out of Little Abaco. His parents were having difficulties dealing with him because he was so energetic. So they sent him down to Morris Island. And Reverend Williams has turned him into the next 400-meter gold medalist in Buenos Aires. At 19, he's running 44.62.
We can do these things. Well, listen, I know our time is short. I promise you 7:30. I'm 7:36, and because of time, I'm not going to be able to continue with this. But I want to tell you this, and I want to bring you back. We got to develop this whole conversation a bit more so that we can educate people based upon. You sound like you got a lot of good stuff. I'm interested in hearing it. I'm sure the Bahamian people are interested in hearing it. And maybe today you've stumbled upon that right forum to be heard.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming. I appreciate Reverend Andrew Stewart coming. I believe that something big is about to happen just because you have this information. The way that you have presented it thus far, Wesley Campbell, is intriguing. And when we look back at our own history and we see where we were and how far we've come, and we look at them, we can see what we are paying all these taxes for anyway. Something has got to give. And if we have this kind of wealth and natural resources, I think every Bahamian could support the concept that you're coming up with and the facts that you bring with it. And again, everyone listens to this show, so they are listening too. And it'll be quite interesting to see if there'll be a rebuttal to say what Wes Campbell was talking about. is foolishness, because now that you've said it here on hard copy, where it goes over the world, and it makes sense to the average person who knows the history, know the players, and know the places that you're talking about, we can put 1 and 1 together and get 2. And that's what I'm saying is happening here today. And I want to thank you for opening the discussion. Bahamas National Citizen Coalition Party is what it's now called.
sir.
You have decided to go the political way because it's the only way to get the ball running, to change the people who are on the scene, to put the right elements in place, to bring about the wealth that you're talking about that we do have there in deposits, and to rewrite most of those contracts and those agreements that we put ourselves in that will keep us poor and foolish for the next 50 years.
Transform the Bahamas overnight. We have a 5-year program, Brother McKinney. And just let me say this before we leave. In 5 years, based on our plan, we're looking at creating 1,500 millionaires, elimination of mortgage indebtedness, elimination of poverty and structural inequality, stabilization of the middle class, majority of economic ownership invested in majority of national citizens, retirement of national debt, establishment of a new social contract, mortality rate decrease, life expectancy for males increase, life expectancy for females to be increased, cancer rate decrease for male and females, and the national average to be above B.
You think that this, what you've been talking about,
Change the economic relationships.
Yeah,
and
it
you
resonates
change
with me.
psychology, you
It
change the
resonates with me.
aspirations.
It resonates with me. Do you think it's resonating with people?
Oh,
you've been
definitely.
talking to?
We have been from Kemp Road to Boyd Subdivision.
It's resonating, Pastor.
Oh, it's resonating. In fact, we were just on Carlton Smith's show, and they had opened up the lines, and the resignation is clear with the Bahamian public. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing.
Yes.
That I didn't open my lines today. I gave
Well,
people the
next
day
time,
off,
yes.
because of the fact that I wanted to get as much information, and I'm trying to use Thursdays as a means of putting out information as opposed to hearing the drama that's happening. We all know what's happening in the country. We all don't like it.
Right.
So if I can get a Thursday like this set aside where we just send out information as opposed to looking for the information, unless it's something that I feel that we should open lines on, then I would. But this has been enlightening. This has been encouraging. The first set of guests as well, a lot of ideas of what we can do to shore up the Bahamas. But everybody seems to be absent-minded about all this wealth. I'm intrigued by that. I'm interested in that because I believe if we see that this wealth can go in our best interest, we will change the entire country for good, and we will be that gem that everybody's looking for, that new Israel, as is the spiritual aspect of Michelin.
Just imagine
Michelin's thesis.
If since 1964, rather than our natural resources were sold in US dollars, just imagine if the contract had been lived up to properly and the purchase was made in Bahamian dollars, Bahamian denomination. Do you realize what that would mean to the reserves of the Bahamas and the dollar value of the Bahamas?
Yes.
You're looking at, you are in a new Switzerland, a new Jerusalem. We just need to do some fundamental things, and it doesn't require much. We need to come together as a people and decide that we need to move in a certain path. The choice is, you vote for your country and you vote for ownership of your wealth, or you vote against yourself and against ownership. That's the choice going to the future.
I like that. That sounds interesting, and that's very advantageous for people who want to go forward. Thanks to you again, Wes Campbell, and of course Pastor Andrew Stewart. We're going to call it that for the night. Our show's been produced today by the one and only Nathan Rowe. We're going to be back here tomorrow. On the show tomorrow, God willing, we're going to talk with Loretta Butler Turner. She is also a part of talking about a new Bahamas and what could happen. We'll talk with her tomorrow at 5 o'clock. You should be sure to make it a day. Our show today has been brought to you by Bank of the Bahamas, BTC Every Day, Super Value, the McKinney Media Group, Island Made Products, Ministry of Tourism, AML Foods, Bonneville Bones, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, Super Wash, Ron's Electric Motors, Sky Bahamas, Seafowl, the Billionaire Summit, Executive Printers, Henry F. Store, the Light People, and the Blue Ultra Pure Drinking Water. We thank you for being a part of our show today. We hope that next week, Thursday, when we come back to Match the Minds and talk about the new Bahamas, you'll be also a part of that. Good night from Hard Copy. See you tomorrow, God willing.
This is Peace Radio After Dark.